The world of personal branding can seem intimidating and confusing, particularly for those trying to juggle between both personal and corporate branding. And this webinar is going to help you make a unique journey stand out so that you can connect with others, successfully implement key branding principles for yourself or clients, and adapt and grow along the way. Hello and welcome to the Social Pilot webinar. I am Diksha Singhal, Senior Social Media Marketer from the Social Pilot team, and I can't wait to discuss the inspiring journey of our expert panel here today to learn from their experiences, mistakes, and much more. Today, we have got an absolutely fire lineup of experts who are going to help us make sense of all the why behind personal branding. We have Lily Deal, Marketing Executive at The Service, Alana McAuliffe, Marketing Executive at Utility Energy and a LinkedIn consultant, and Dayana, a Social Media Executive at the Society. Welcome you all three. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having us. It's so exciting to be able to have this webinar today.
So, before we get into this conversation, I would first want to understand quickly about your unique journeys. How did actually your journey start on LinkedIn, especially? How did you feel you should be talking about personal branding? I think that would be a great intake to start with. So, maybe we can start with Diana. I think recently you have achieved a benchmark also. I saw a post about it. So, I would definitely want to start with your journey.
Of course. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining from wherever you are in the world. It's great to see so many people tuning in from different cities and countries. So, I'm Diana, and I'm a social media manager, and I've been in the field for over 3 years now. And as Diksha said, I'm currently in the world of books. I currently work for the Folio Society and have been there for over a year now. I started posting on LinkedIn about 2 years ago now in 2020. And it all started because I was a freelancer in social media marketing, and of course I wanted to put myself out there and be able to get clients. But of course life happened, and I joined the Folio Society last year, and that's how my journey started, really and truly. And I've been on an incredible journey with personal branding, and especially building a personal brand on LinkedIn. So I'm really, really excited to share my thoughts, my journey, and what I think about it now that it's a term that's being thrown out there so much. And just a little bit about myself, just to end it. So last December, I was given the title as top 25 marketer to follow in 2025 by the Girls in Marketing, an incredible online community. And it's basically motivated me back to post on LinkedIn because I was a bit of a ghost last year. So yeah, really, really excited to share with you all, and of course with these incredible panelists today.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I think this was really quick. And the way that you have mentioned that how did you again start your journey, especially after Girls in Marketing, that's a great thing, I think. And I would also want to hear something about the journey of Alana. How did you start? You are more than like 32K followers on LinkedIn. To build that such a big, kind of followership, big community is a difficult task. So how did your journey also start?
Thank you, and thank you to everyone coming today. It's going to be really hard to follow that. I need to nail my elevator pitch a little bit better, but so my name's Alana McAuliffe. I'm a digital marketing exec at a company called Utility Energy. And I started my journey with personal branding only 6 months into my career. I'm only 2 years in now, so 6 months was quite delusional. Hence my "you do not need to be an expert to have an opinion" tagline that I use everywhere. I started my journey to basically connect with other people in the industry who got it. I mean, there's one thing saying you hit a milestone on Instagram and then telling everyone around the dinner table and then not quite understand it. So it was to connect with like-minded professionals while also hold myself accountable as I started my journey in the industry. So I've shared my first networking experience and how scared I was, and then overcome that, to public speaking. So I feel like my community is a safe space for a lot of people starting out in their career and facing challenges that they might feel like they're doing alone, but they're not. So I've grown my community now to nearly 34,000 people in 18 months, which is just insane to me. And with that, has become twofold of opportunities. Things like this, working with crazy brands like Adobe, and I've just recently become the personal branding columnist for Pretty Little Marketer, which I hope most people in the marketing industry know, as she is one of the people that persuaded me to start my journey on LinkedIn too. So that's a little bit about myself.
Congratulations on becoming a columnist also at PLM. It's one of
Thank
the
you.
best, I think, news that I've also come across about you. So definitely congratulations on that. Lily, we would also quickly want to know how did your journey also start? I think everybody would be eager to hear your journey as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, first of all. It's great to see everyone from all different parts of the world. So I'm Lily. I've worked in marketing and social media, and I've been on LinkedIn for about 5 years now. However, I was very much the kind of person that had LinkedIn, a couple of hundred followers. I'd post about maybe an event that I went to or a promotion that I got, but I was never active on there until last summer, when I joined Service and also became a member of Girls in Marketing. So definitely check that community out if you haven't. Um, so yeah, last summer I started on about 500 followers. My goal this year is now 10,000. I am now on about 8,000 followers. But as we go through this, you'll notice that followers are not everything. I'm sure these two can say the same as well. Like personal branding is much more than vanity metrics. But yeah, I've just grown a complete community. I've learned through trial and error myself, and now I specialize in personal branding and social media management.
Amazing, amazing. And I wish that you definitely cross all the bars of your followership. And of course, as you just mentioned, that having a personal brand is not just about having those vanity metrics, but actually building a community which is engaged, which is authentic, and in a community where you make impact. So I think that's kudos to that. So first I would want to understand from this perspective, right? That we all know that initially on LinkedIn, personal branding actually emerged for the purpose of job hunting or job search, right? But now personal branding is beyond job searching. And so, what do you think are the most surprising benefits that you have experienced cultivating a strong personal brand on LinkedIn? So, yes, any of you can quickly start on this. Maybe Alana, you can start and you can just let us know that because you have started just after 6 months of your career. So, what motivated you and what were the things like that?
Yeah, of course. So, when I started off in my career, it was sort of an entry level job, which my parents thought I was crazy for taking after getting in a lot of university debt. So, I think one thing for me was also to connect with people that I were in the same industry that I could learn a lot from in a really short space of time, but also position myself in a way that if employers come across my profile, they would see my passion for the industry. I know a lot of job roles these days, they require X experience, and I didn't have that, but I wanted to use my passion and have an outlet for them to see. So at first, it was about scoring that big role as well. However, I couldn't tell you down the line that the brand opportunities that I've got from it and being friends with the people that inspired me at first is one of the most mind-blowing things. I think at the beginning, you see these big creators that you are starstruck by. They're not just big creators, they are humans behind the screen. And, the more you do sort of networking events, the more you'll actually meet them in person. So it's taken these starstruck creators and actually becoming friends with them and being part of their community, which I think has been one of the most invaluable takeaways that I can take from my personal brand.
Definitely, definitely. I think that is something really inspiring also. So I would also want to know a bit more about Lily or Diana. Any of you can also talk about how did personal branding just go beyond job hunting and it's not just about job searching, and what kind of advice maybe you could give to people who are actually starting off with job hunting maybe and trying to build a brand around it to get into the eyes of the recruiters maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I'm
Lily,
happy
you can go ahead.
go here, yeah. So I think what Alana said about community is so important within personal branding. I've networked with employees, potential sales leads. But I have made so many friends that are in my industry that I can learn off and they learn off me. So it's a two-way relationship. But another thing with personal branding as well is kind of the confidence and the self-belief that it's given myself. So as it goes for kind of job hunting, I don't necessarily have any experience with that because my personal branding started when I started this current role that I'm in. Um, but I think the benefits are the same for anyone, no matter what it is that why you're starting your personal branding journey. There are so many different benefits that aren't just landing your dream job. Um, it's just a platform to express yourself as well. And I think that's what's really great is that everyone has something to say. It's just about doing it and starting now. And I think that's the biggest kind of thing that holds people back is, oh, I'm going to wait till I do this, I'm going to wait till I do that. But I think the best advice that I could give anyone is just start, don't wait, just jump in right now.
Right, right, definitely. Um, Diana, do you have anything to add here?
Of course, definitely. I think the main thing for me when it comes to personal brand is three things. Number one, I think it surprisingly made me a bit more of a disciplined person because I guess we will touch on this a lot more during the webinar, but being able to post on LinkedIn and build a personal brand requires a lot of discipline because it requires you to show up, it requires you to post content. And I think over the years, I've not quite nailed that, but I think coming back in this year and really putting that as a priority, it's really become a disciplined thing for me. Secondly, I guess conquering one of my biggest fears as well, which is public speaking. So I guess once you start building your personal brand, that will come along with different opportunities, which you probably didn't think that you could get. And in, I think, early last year, I got invited to be a panelist at an event, and the first instinct of mine was like I didn't want to do it because from school I hated public speaking. If anyone asked me to go in front of assembly, I would say no and I would actually start crying. So it's been something that I've had for a very, very long time. So going up against that fear and actually doing something that makes me scared has been very, very challenging, but very, very rewarding at the same time. And I guess just to caveat what Alana said about connecting with others in the industry, there's a lot of brands that have very small teams or one-man bands like myself, so it can feel very, very lonely. And although you may have your marketing teams that could understand somewhat of what you're going through, I think it's really important to be able to have that sort of community and friends that if anything happens or anything that you're going through, you can connect with them and they can 100% relate to you. So yeah, definitely a lot of benefits other than the usual of growing a following and stuff like that. So yeah, very, very, very good.
Oh God, I can't agree more than anything on all of these points that you have shared, especially this point of getting disciplined. Um, we have been in conversation for this webinar quite some time, and once I had these conversations with you, I am also happy to share that past 1 month I'm being disciplined, consistent on my personal LinkedIn as well, trying my best to connect with my audience out there on LinkedIn. And that's an inspiration that actually I have also got from all three of you. So thank you so much. It's really nice to, kind of be disciplined, get that consistency, connect with people on LinkedIn. So, apart from this, I would also want to understand this thing that, I feel that personal branding just not only benefits the person who is actually doing the personal branding for himself or herself, but also I think it indirectly helps businesses also grow. So for businesses, how can they encourage employee doing personal branding? Because I think that kind of amplify the overall company brand and reach. And so what are maybe the tactical ways to support this internally? Like how businesses can actually kind of encourage their employees to have a personal brand, which will actually help for the brand to also grow. Maybe Diana, I think recently you have also achieved a benchmark for the Folio Society on Instagram. So I would also want that does personal branding help in employer branding somewhere, helps to build the brand visibility and reach?
Of course, 100%. So once when I joined the Folio Society, we had to implement a whole new strategy. And one of the things that I think in the social media marketing world is obviously putting your employees at the front of your brand on social media. And although it has been quite challenging to, get employees on board, just because not everyone is comfortable on camera, and of course, it's not something that you can, let's say, obligate to do. I think it's an area that a lot of brands are now starting to see what they can do. And, we have seen a lot about employee advocacy programs. And it's actually something here at the Folio Society that we are looking to implement. And within that, it's encouraging our employees to post on LinkedIn, but not just letting them know, oh, post this. It's also giving them the education behind it. So I guess at the Folio Society, and from my own experience, we are still, let's say, at the very start of it. But I know a lot of brands are investing their time into employee advocacy programs. So it'll be very interesting to see how that develops across the year for other brands, and of course, what we develop here at the Folio Society.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And so I would also want to understand with this perspective, like, is this directly kind of proportional to the personal branding that an employee builds for themselves with the visibility for the brand, or it could be just some percentage that would be helpful? Because ultimately, there's a thing that every person will also try to build a bridge between their personal branding and their professional tone or their authentic views on different topics. So that is also something which I would want you to maybe highlight on.
Absolutely. So I guess when it comes to encouraging employees, it's not just, let's say, company updates or anything like that. It's also their own personal achievements within their role. Just because whenever you do, share your achievements and you mention what you've done within your role, that also helps the company as well. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's, let's say at the Police Society, we've done this or we've done that. It's also that personal side of things of your own achievements. And that's something that I've implemented as well within my own personal brand. And I do tend to talk about a lot online.
Great, great. Alana, Lily, do you have any points to add here? Probably, I think that our marketers out here would also want to learn from your experiences. If you have kind of implemented your personal branding strategies that would have helped, the businesses also, or the brands that you've already worked with, or maybe the clients that you've worked with previously.
Yeah, 100%. Employers should be encouraging their employees to take personal branding seriously. Like I mentioned, I started taking my personal branding seriously when I started working for Service, and that was because I worked in an environment that encouraged it and supported it. It wasn't, oh, you have to do this, you have to start posting, you have to start representing the company. It was more of kind of like a cheerleader type thing, like boosting each other up, like we're going to try and do this and that and blah, blah, blah. And we actually have like a post of the week competition now internally. So it's a bit of fun. We've got a little trophy, and then each week, the person that gets top post of the week will give it to the next week. So it's just that kind of thing, but just a little bit of kind of like a numbers point of view. So employees actually have 10 times the following of their brand page, and employee posts get 561% more reach than a company's post. So they're just reasons alone that, everyone should kind of start taking personal branding seriously.
Absolutely. I think especially the part that you've mentioned of a cheerleader, an employee, how an employer can be a cheerleader, and these small little perks that, or the small little healthy competitions between employees that can be organized to kind of help them grow their personal branding, which would actually help them build a network also and probably help the business also. Alana, anything else would you want to add here?
Yeah, of course. I would like to piggyback off Lily's point. I would say there's one thing like encouraging it and being a cheerleader, and there's another thing of trying to force your employees to do it. It's sort of two different natures. If it's something a brand is expecting of employees, then I do feel that they should be incentivized for the effort, or it should be within sort of their job description. And it shouldn't be something employees have to do. It's either an encouragement or they choose to do it. As for moving forward and how businesses can encourage this, I would like to see it sort of be taken in like personal development and career development within the company. I obviously think there's a lot that you can get out of personal branding, and whether people are aware of that or not, if employers sort of promoted it as part of a personal development program or showed employees how it can help with their career development, I think that would be super, super helpful. But I stand with Lily's point. I think you can make it fun, and I think you can sort of incentivize little challenges to try and push people out of that initial comfort zone if it is something that they want to do.
Right. I
Just
think
to
that,
kind of
yeah. Yeah, yes,
oh,
please.
sorry, yeah, just to kind of add on to that as well. So I think just kind of employers taking the initiative to kind of invest in their staff and looking like these courses and these free webinars and getting their staff to kind of encouraged to watch and do these kind of things like within their working hours rather than doing it in their spare time because it does benefit the company. And just supporting them in that sense, really. There's so many resources out there and giving them prompts of what to post because I think that's a lot of people's biggest struggle with personal branding is actually what to post. And
Hmm.
there's a lot more than kind of like, the achievements and that kind of thing. It's the storytelling, but making it relevant to your industry and your brand.
Right, right. So, but then does this not circle around authenticity? Because we know that, we already have a world of curated feeds. So, how do a person kind of strike that proper balance between showcasing their own professional self? Because obviously there would be a certain need to be in a certain professional self way also on LinkedIn, but also staying genuinely relatable on LinkedIn. So, what kind of concerns do you think are circled around this, and how people can actually have invitations for the personal invite insights on LinkedIn?
I think a big thing is language style. First and foremost, is being yourself and knowing who you are and portraying that. But also, there's the whole kind of cliche that LinkedIn isn't Facebook, and to a sense, that's correct. But also, you need to be able to put yourself out there a little bit and put the personal in personal branding. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to tell people how many kids you have or what car you drive. Like I said before, it's kind of finding that relatable aspect. So a big thing for me that went really well on LinkedIn was my nails. So just to give everyone a little bit, I've got Nemo on my nails, if you can see. So I get really nice, expensive nails every month, and they're very expensive, and I pay a lot more than I would pay if I just kind of went down the road to the local cheap one. But I'm paying for like the community that's involved within that experience. I love my nail tech. I go and we have conversations. She has exclusive parties in her in her shop and that kind of thing. So I posted about that on LinkedIn, kind of took it back to like the branding aspect and how you don't always go for the cheapest, you are paying for more than just the service kind of thing. So hopefully that makes sense, but it's just finding relevant topics and making them relevant to your industry.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Diana, do you also have any other perspective on authenticity? What is authenticity for you when we say to have on LinkedIn, especially when you are talking from a personal branding point of view?
Of course, Lily as well. I create a lot of book content, so my nails are always like 100% done. But no, when it comes to authenticity and obviously bridging that side of professional and authentic self, I think there shouldn't be a distinguish between the two. And on LinkedIn, I've seen a lot of creators talk about that thing of how you sound offline should be the same way you sound online, that there shouldn't be any distinguish between the two. And I used to actually have a problem with that back when I was actually starting my personal brand on LinkedIn, where whenever I would write something, I would actually not sound like that in real life. And that would actually be a problem because obviously with personal brands, you have to be talking like yourself. So one of the things that I always say is that when you write something, always remember, does this sound like me? And ask a friend, does this actually sound like how I talk? And if it doesn't, then I think you need to go back and revisit the content that you do, because you don't want to have that sort of distinguish between who you are offline and who you are online, which is really, really important.
Definitely, definitely. I think that is also something insightful for all the marketers here. Alana, any other different perspective in terms of authenticity for personal branding on LinkedIn?
Yeah, of course. I'm with both the girls here. I think it would be so tiring pretending to be two people all the time between your personal and professional self. Um, for me, what you see is what you get, whether it's online or in my company. However, I am cautious. Like Lily said, you don't need to tell everyone what you've had for dinner. There's I think sometimes people storytell to the extreme. You don't have to storytell to be authentic. If you're writing a post and you have a gut feeling that it doesn't feel right, or you feel like you're oversharing, don't share it. There isn't an expectation for everyone to know every single thing about you, but if posts sound like you and sound like how you speak, that's key to being authentic. I think there's sometimes, and I have to rein myself in from putting acronyms in my posts because I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do this. But having that bridge between being yourself and that conveying online, as your online self should be your offline self too. But again, just be careful. You know that people from your work might see your post, so if it's something you don't want them to know, don't share it.
Right, right. I think that's absolutely something that all the marketers should be actually following for their personal branding. And as you just said, that bringing out the two faces especially can be really difficult. Of course, you cannot always have that two face, one for your professional or offline and one for your online self, because people would definitely not feel that as authentic. I see one more question that is popping out from our audience here, and I think that this is really important to understand from the terms of authenticity. That does actually the posting frequency also symbolizes some kind of authenticity? Is it related with authenticity? Like how often do you or publish your posts on LinkedIn or any other social media platform? Does that align with your authenticity? If you post more, you're more authentic. If you post less, you are less authentic. Something like that.
I don't think there's any correlation between how often you post and authenticity. I think I try and post 3 to 5 times a week, but I'm quite established within my brand now. I kind of know who I am, know my language model, what I'm talking about, I know my audience. So I am quite on the other side of it. But when you're starting out, um, even just starting with one post a week, but then the more that you can do, the more you're going to stay at the top of people's minds. But yeah, I don't think there's any correlation between posting once a week and posting 5 a week, whether you're authentic or not.
Definitely. I think that's a perfect answer for the marketers. I hope that we have answered your question. There are some more questions that are popping in the question Q&A section. So I would, before continuing my questions, I would take some of the questions from our audience. So here's a question that how can you help individuals who are concerned about coming up with enough content to post every week? What's your advice on how to get your head into a creator mode? So maybe Alana, you can help us answer this
Yeah, of course. I can jump on this one. It's one thing that I'm super passionate about because sometimes I look at people's feeds and I think, how on earth have they got stuff to talk about every day? And I'm sure I'm not the only one that thinks that. However, content inspiration is everywhere. You just need to know the right places to look. A scroll down your home feed can work wonders. Save posts that might be able to tailor to you, but I don't say this lightly. If you do take inspiration, please do credit the creator because they are putting in hard work behind the scenes too. I know also it's scary, but turn to AI tools. They can help you come up with content creation. You don't have to take things word for word. Most of the time I see a list and then my brain sparks off in different places from that initial list, but that can be really good too. Also, repurposing content. I think that is quite a taboo topic as well on LinkedIn. Go back, see what posts have performed well, see what maybe hasn't, see if you can repost that at a different time, because there is a lot of reasons why posts might not get picked up, and that could be because it's the summer, people are on holiday, they're off work, or maybe it was a time of day, or it just wasn't an active day on LinkedIn that day. So leverage AI, look at what's working for other people, follow the right people. There's plenty of Instagram accounts out there that are the first people to drop marketing campaigns and things. I can't list them off my head right now, but if anyone wants to list, feel free to DM me on LinkedIn. And then also sort of see what worked from your old content, see if you can reword that and bring that back too.
Definitely. And I think I would be the first one to get into your inbox after this call to get the list of those Instagram accounts and the inspirations that you can share with me. I would definitely want to have that. And as you just mentioned that, it's really great to have your feed. It's really great to repurpose or repost your old content with a new story. I recently saw a post of Rihanna, which is one of the people that I follow. I think she is also working with one of the good companies that I've noticed, and she actually published a post about that. She posted a content 1 year ago, and it still feels relevant. So she just repurposed it, and the way that she repurposed it got a better engagement, got a better reach and a visibility with the same story. So I think this also is something that can be actually practiced. Any further adding points from Diana or Lily, or we can skip to the next question?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to getting like in your creative mind, I think because as a social media marketer, I'm always on social every day, at every single hour and minute of the day. So the way that I stay inspired is by actually looking offline. So I'm now spending a lot of my time listening to podcasts. I currently listen to about 5 episodes a week, and not necessarily within the marketing space, but also in any other areas and interest. And I think that for me has really sparked a lot of my creativity, just because I think as a marketer, we would think that, we need to be online, which is true. A lot of the time when I am scrolling on LinkedIn and other social media platforms like TikTok, I'm always thinking with that creative mind of, oh, what can I take from this? But I guess to staying productive and not leading to burnout and spending so much time on my phone, I like to do it offline. So whenever, let's say I'm walking my dog or I'm commuting into the office, I like to listen to podcasts. And we shouldn't neglect as well blogs and reports. I think in the space of marketing, we get a lot of them. And I think just reading them and just understanding where the space is at, it really sparks a lot of conversation, a lot of ideas that you can actually talk about online and share your thoughts and experiences on that. So yeah, I think sometimes as much as we want to be online, which is always good, I think you should also take it offline as well.
Right. I think that's a great approach that you have actually shared. I would move to the next question, and Lily, I would really want if you can answer this one. So, Alana is asking us. So, there's a new attendee that we have by the name of Alana. She's asking that I struggle to talk about marketing happening inside my company, which I see is kind of a trend, but I find it so boring. What do you recommend to lean on when the goal is not getting clients, but just to be relevant in my current job?
Yeah, I'm assuming when she talks about marketing within her company, she means the company that she works for. Okay, so a lot of your personal posts don't actually have to tie to your company. I think that's what makes it personal. Um, you can be discreet in calls to action and kind of referring back to your company with things like that, but people buy from people at the end of the day. So if you work in marketing, you want to position yourself as a thought leader. You want to give away insights, tips, tricks, that kind of thing, so that people see your content and think, wow, she really knows what she slash he or they really know what they're talking about. Um, and I think that's just the way to go within personal branding. I think building the brand and the company is a whole separate topic away from it personally. So yeah, I would just recommend to focus on yourself and look at your own content pillars and what it is that you want to achieve as an individual that works for that company and be the face to the brand.
Definitely. I think that's a great point, and we hope that we have answered your question really well. Now, I'll take one more question from the audience, that is, how much content is planned and how many posts are written unplanned? So, I think that's a really nice question to ask Janka. Maybe Diana or Alana, I see you both smiling. So, any of you can definitely start with this answer.
Alana, I don't know if you want to go for that one first.
I can go first if you want. I have the most unconventional process when it comes to writing, and I tell this to everybody I meet and who wants to listen, and it floors them every time, but I do not content schedule when it comes to my personal brand. I create each post live, whether it be the night before I post or the morning that I do post. And the reason why I do this is because I don't want LinkedIn to seem like a chore. I want it to stay fun. And I find that it is the most authentic version of myself. If I create post by post, it's what I'm passionate about right there in the moment. It means I can be reactive and timely to trends, campaigns, updates, because if you're one of the first people to jump on something, you're going to naturally get a bit more engagement than if someone's seen it 10 times down the feed. I do the complete opposite with my company role. I plan everything a month in advance. So I think creating content live gives me that differentiation between the two and makes it feel more of like a hobby and not like a paid role that I have to clock in for every day. And it also means that if I need a day for myself, I can have a day for myself and not have to worry about getting back to comments that day if I'm feeling a bit under the weather. So I might be against what everybody is saying on LinkedIn, but that is the way that it works for me.
I think that's a great take. Yes, Diana, I think you were also saying something. We would also want to hear some points. And then there's a very tricky question in the Q&A to what Alana has said, but I would definitely continue once you also talk about your point.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm a little bit of both with Alana. So I'm a little bit organized, but I'm also quite last minute. And I think I like the balance between the two just because life comes at you very fast. And some days are just very, very hectic that I guess I'm so glad that what I do is that I have like content points that I want to talk about. And I'll probably write about it about a day or two in the night before, just so that I have something there just to go ahead. But of course, there will be moments where I want to talk about an event that I went to, or there's something trending. And of course, it's always leaving that sort of space for you to have that flexibility. And like Alana said, this is not, no one's forcing you to be online. So why make it a chore? Like, in order to stay here in the long game with LinkedIn, you have to make sure that you love what you do and that you love showing up. So it's really important to, not think, okay, I need to sit down now and make five posts for next week or something like that. I think there should always be that sort of leeway into what you post. And the only reason why I like to, I guess, let's say, be a little bit more prepared is because I'm testing out with video right now on LinkedIn. And obviously that does take a little bit of time. So whenever I know that I want to create a video, then I do it about a day or two in advance, whether it's like voiceovers and the lives and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. But like Alana says, with marketing, you just never know. So yeah.
I think I agree to Diana here because I am also a mix of both right now. Because I also kind of like to have some points prepared or some kind of draft prepared because some days I might be having a very hectic day. I might not be able, or I might not be just in a mood to kind of be very consistent sometimes. And as we know that it is an engaging audience, so we need to kind of at least keep engaging with them, not every day but at least at some regular intervals. And every day might not be possible because obviously we all have our corporate worlds, we all have our businesses and brands also to kind of handle. So that can become a challenging task. But in this terms, we have a question then, and this is for all of the three of you, and a counter kind of to Alana because it's like Ingrid is asking that do LinkedIn punish you when it comes to reach and visibility when posting through a social media platform, scheduling platform, or a third party posting platform? So when you say that you are not scheduling for personal branding, is it a reason that do you think LinkedIn kind of punishes scheduled content from third party tools, or what is it?
No, absolutely not. I can't comment too much on whether I have seen a difference or not. If I was to schedule my LinkedIn post, I would just schedule it through the in-app. However, I think for me, the reason why I don't schedule my posts is because if I want to keep my community, I post at a time where I know that I can come back in and check in. I wouldn't want to schedule a post and then have a super busy day and forget to sort of come back and engage with the people that I interact with in my posts. So that's the only reason why I press post live and not scheduled, just so I can have more autonomy of sort of the posting times and whether I can show up to sort of engage with others that are engaging with me. I'm not sure if either of the other girls have seen trends, because that is how I operate across both my personal brand and my company's brand, actually. So we don't actually use a scheduler for LinkedIn.
Lily, what is your approach? I would definitely want to know.
Yeah, definitely same to Alana. I have seen kind of, I don't know whether opinions or stats about how scheduling posts and using third parties does affect your overall reach. But I think it goes back to what Alana says is a big thing that I always try and say is don't post and ghost. If you try and post and then just save half an hour after, just to network and interact with your community, because LinkedIn and personal branding is so much more than actually just posting. You want to be commenting, you want to be sharing, you want to be DMing. And if you're not doing any of that, you're just going to be talking to a brick wall. So yeah, I think try and do it when it suits you. It might be on the train when you're commuting. I personally save like an hour first thing in the morning of my working day. That's when I usually post. That's when I usually engage with my network.
Yeah, I think you have also recently published a post about a day in your life, and I think your day starts with having a coffee and also putting some efforts in your personal branding. So I think that actually defines that, we need to kind of engage also once we publish our content. So that's amazing. But then I would also feel that, then personal branding becomes a very time-consuming process. It might feel as a time-consuming process, and for every time consuming process as a marketer, we also feel that we should definitely have an ROI or a ROI framework for measuring the impact of the efforts that we put in. So, how do we prioritize the activities when the time is limited? How do we kind of know the metrics, or how do we make this approach practical or result oriented? Are there any actually vanity metrics or ROI framework that we can have for personal branding?
I think obviously metrics wise, you want to be looking at your followers and your reach and that kind of thing. But also, like we said at the start, there's so many more opportunities that aren't just around jobs through personal branding. I mean, having the opportunity to speak here with SocialPilot is one of them. I have been asked by Virgin Media to deliver a personal branding workshop to them. I've been invited to exclusive events and that kind of thing. And this is in the space of the last 6 to 8 months. Like I said, this time last year, I wasn't on LinkedIn at all. I wasn't using it. One thing I really do want to focus on here and make obvious is this won't happen overnight. It is something that you have to put time into and be consistent, like we said, not just with posting, but with engaging. And it can be a little bit disheartening at first when you're posting things and you feel like no one's reading it and no one's liking, no one's commenting, but it's better in the long run. Writing's a muscle and you've just got to keep going with it.
Right.
Mm.
But so do you also believe that, or Diana, I would also want to hear your thoughts on this, that you believe that there are a lot of lurkers on LinkedIn as well. You might not get that kind of engagement. Recently, this happened with one of our posts. From one of my colleagues, that she also mentioned that she kind of posted and published a post which actually had a great click-through rate, which actually had great engagement behind the analytics, but on the top of the page of the LinkedIn, we see that there are limited likes or comments. So does this also is a real fact that LinkedIn has a lot of lurkers who kind of just come see your post, they admire it, but they won't react?
Yeah, 100%. I think there's just so many users right now that don't interact with your posts, but there are so many people looking at them, and it's actually crazy to see how many people, see your content. And an example similar to Lily, I actually got approached by a university to go ahead and deliver a content creation workshop in March, and I've never, interacted with the lecturer before, or I've never seen them come through my profile. Next, I receive an email message from them on LinkedIn. So it just goes to show that even if your content is getting 10, 20, 30 likes, it doesn't matter, because there's people out there looking at you and really rooting for you. And more than anything, they find value in the content that you are posting. So it's so important that, yes, at first glance, if you look at a content, even I do it sometimes, and I see, okay, this only got 30 likes. I'm just thinking, what happened? What went wrong there? But you don't know who's actually, seen it and actually has taken so much value from it. And I think a good thing to remember is that you shouldn't compare, let's say, your day 37 with someone's, day 1000 and something. It's such a long run thing here, and it's so easy to compare yourself. But listen, we're all human here, and we're all here for the long run. And yeah, and just wanted to add to that one of the things that you should do is just remember to start small. Even if it's 10, 20, 30 minutes, just go ahead and do it. I'm currently not spending, hours and hours on LinkedIn. I sacrifice 30 minutes of my lunchtime, and I go on there, I post, I interact with so many people, including these two lovely ladies, and it's worked like magic for the last couple of weeks. So honestly, a small things go a long way.
Oh, that's great. I think you have actually summed it up so well. I really love the way that you've mentioned, especially the part of comparing people their day 37 with somebody's day, maybe 100 or 1000 day. I think that is something really important that all the marketers out there who are starting fresh, maybe with their personal branding, or right now not getting a lot of engagement, this is kind of a motivation from them. That's amazing. So, going forward, I would also want to understand that when we talk about getting metrics, it's also usually related or people kind of associated with the type of content they publish on LinkedIn. So, is there something that you were surprised about what worked for you or what did not? Because we have seen a lot of posts that, hey, this is a post that I was guaranteed that this might work, but it did not, and a post in which you have put maybe just 5 minutes, it just went viral. Alana?
Yeah, I'll jump on this one. It's so funny, isn't it? The ones that you spend a lot of time on never do as well as the one that takes 5 minutes. But I think I've noticed, I think for myself, three main themes of content that usually does quite well. So people want to learn and they want to know something. So being one of the first people to jump on a campaign, a trend, an update, and bring awareness to that has worked really well. Also connecting on a personal level, so that element of storytelling. You don't want to be shouting at people, saying, I've done this and this, but not actually give them any valuable takeaway. So you might have done this or this, but how did you get there? How can other people get there? Give them something that they can take away as well. The value is a really big part. And three, I got this off a Soph from a webinar last year from Pretty Little Marketer, but the low effort content, so the ones that do take you 5 minutes. So whether that is a meme that you've posted or just a quick caption like it's Monday, it's a fresh week, like you've got this, like carry on. Things like that do so well. It breaks up the feed, brings a little humor to the feed, and then also just brings people a bit of encouragement too. So those are the three main themes I found well for me: jumping on something new, connecting on a personal level, and then something low effort like a meme or just a quick caption.
I think that's a nice way. Three of the formats that you have mentioned. Lily, Diana, do you have any other formats apart from this, what Alana just discussed?
Yeah, I think Alana did really well at kind of covering like the core elements there. The only thing I would add is probably like the behind the scenes posts. Like you mentioned, my day in the life yesterday. For some reason, that's been like my most popular post, and I've not seen numbers like that on my own post for a long time. But people loved the authentic side of it, the personal side. And it, like we said, it was related to marketing. It's what I do in a day as a marketing executive. But there's a fun, like, little twist in there about like what albums I was listening to, what I had for my lunch, and those kind of things. And it really just kind of brings you down to earth. It humanizes you and your brand. So just little things like that. People love to see like dog pictures and that kind of thing. So yeah, just behind the scenes content is definitely a way to go if you are struggling with ideas to kind of post out there.
I think behind the scenes are one of my favorites as well. I usually love to kind of hear the stories. How did things go with one of the marketers, maybe at their day, or behind a successful campaign or behind even a flop campaign, or a flop story, to kind of know what went wrong behind the scenes. I think it's more kind of authentic and helps you to kind of build that relationship. So when we talk about the different type of contents as well, does LinkedIn algorithm also play some role here? Because we know that as social media platforms, algorithms always change, and with 2025 we have already seen a lot of algorithm changes on LinkedIn, on Instagram, TikTok. We know what just happened. So, what's your current strategy? I would want to know. I think all the marketers would want to know, is to maximize your visibility and your engagement. We actually want the scoop of your engagement from all three of you. What tactics are you guys experimenting these days?
I
Diana.
guess in terms of experimenting, I think because as the social media marketer in me, I'm always in experimentation mode. So there's no like set type of content that I'm, let's say, sticking to. However, right now, obviously with LinkedIn, pushing video has been something that's actually been very massive for the platform since late last year. And obviously there's been so many articles going around how LinkedIn in itself is trying to push a lot more. And I guess from my own personal experience, the other day I actually posted a review from an event that I went to last week, and it got over 100,000 impressions. Although obviously the engagement wasn't as much as I thought it would be, but it just shows that, you know, with video, it's reaching so many people. So aside of that, right now, I guess I'm really trying to see what video has to offer. Nonetheless, of course, written posts will always be at the top. And something I guess I want to start incorporating is carousels. Like, I think they work really, really well for a lot of creators on the platform. I'm not a graphic designer myself, so I'm not quite sure how far I will get into designing them. But I think it's always that mindset of experimenting and just seeing what works.
Definitely. I think that's a great point. Yes, Alana, I think you were saying something.
Yes, I mean, it seems obvious that trial and error with content types. I would love to get into video more, but I just feel like between my day of working for my corporate role as well, I just can't find the time to funnel the energy into that right now. So one thing that I'm really working with to sort of help boost my visibility on LinkedIn, actually, and I think it might be one that people don't really think of a lot, but it's actually sentiment analysis. So seeing the vibes of the comments that I'm getting on my post, you can I say the comment section is a gold mine. You can have many different content ideas generated off of that and see what is hot, like what are people engaging with in the comments, and then using that to sort of push content out, because if people are talking about it, they're going to want to digest it. So really trying to get in the minds of other people that are engaging with my content and similar content, and then seeing how I can cater to that. So trying to understand my audience and my comment section too has been a big one for me.
That's I think amazing. I think we also see a lot of kind of post ideas, as you just mentioned, from the comment section. That's a gold mine. Lily, do you have any other adding points on this? And I would also want to understand that what are your ideas of about building a relationship with your audience for in terms of personal branding? How do you think that maybe kind of lead generation can also be, is lead generation also possible with this kind of community engagement and things like that? Does it have a potential beyond just broadcasting?
Yeah, definitely. Lead generation is relevant in any any area of marketing. And at the end of the day, personal branding is marketing. If you are offering your audience something that they want to know, you want to be the hero to their problem. So lead generation comes in perfect there. An example for us guys, because we've kind of been in the personal branding, we know what to do. If we were to offer like a prompt sheet, like, oh, put your details in here and I'll send you a prompt sheet, that's lead generation in itself. It's easy to do, and it's just making that relevant again to your industry and your field. Going back to the previous question, I think the only thing I would really reiterate is just that it is trial and error. Especially for me, I haven't quite been in the game as long as these two, but I am kind of just experimenting again with what works for my audience, what they prefer to see, whether it's video, carousel. I found that polls are really good for me and my audience. I think it sparks discussion. Um, And it's really exciting to see what other people think and other people's opinions, especially in the marketing world. There's so much to it, so it's great to learn off people in my comments as well.
Definitely. I think that's also polls. I have also seen that they get really good engagement in terms of, and also helps to kind of get that quick interactions with your audience. So I would also want to understand from this perspective that, when we try to kind of build relationships, so are there any kind of challenges that you guys have maybe faced in your initial days of personal branding when you're trying to build connections or when you're trying to build, your engagement? Because I have personally seen this when I'm at a very initial stage of my personal branding as well, at least from you three both, right? I've recently started, and I see that there are a lot of times it becomes very difficult for me to kind of get into the connections with the people who I inspire from, or who, I admire. I would want to learn from them, connect with them, get into their connections as well. So, how can we kind of break this pattern, or is there a way we can actually break this? What are your suggestions on this?
I think
I have this. Oh, sorry.
no, it's fine. You go, you go.
Thank you. I have this like makeup rule that I think I might have made up in my head. I'm not too sure, but I split my connections into like thirds. I connect with a third of people that I think can teach me something, a third of people that I think I can teach something to, and then another third for things like this, networking, sort of decision makers. If I want to work with a brand, I might connect with their community managers, their influencer managers. So that's a bit to help me get a bit closer to my own goals. I think starting off, and I feel like we all might have a little bit of this in us when we get a bit trigger happy and we see connections coming in and we're like, yes, 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 and we accept everyone. But really stripping it back, if they don't align sort of with what you're trying to achieve, maybe not from your industry, if you're not going to learn something from them that is going to benefit you in your career, you don't necessarily need to connect with them. I say my home feed should be a gold mine. When I scroll down it, I should be learning constantly. So it's really identifying who I sort of want my content to reach and the content that I want to digest when I connect with people. And also, you have 100 connection requests a week. Please use them. It is a free tool, and you will learn so much if you do put a bit of time and effort to source in the right people.
Definitely. And I think this rule that you have actually shared, we see marketers in the chat box that they are kind of saying that they love this rule. And this is also something that I've come across. It's a great learning. The third rule, dividing your audience in three parts. That's really amazing. Any adding points, or there are a lot of questions with that. We have some time crunch also. So, any adding points from you, Diana or Lily, or shall I take the next question?
I think go for Lily because I think she wanted to answer that because I think I'm literally learning from this question myself because I'm not at that stage of Lily of like, breaking it down. I just make sure that I pop up on LinkedIn. So I'll let Lily take this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just going back to being authentic and being you. Like Alana said, connect with the people that you want to, know who you want to see your content. And when you send that connection request, be honest and personalize it. The same goes for engaging with your network. AI is a great tool, but you have to use it correctly. And like Alana said earlier, please don't copy and paste because it is really, really obvious when people are leaving, comments that aren't authentic and they're not really adding value. So yeah, just really kind of know who you are, know your values, and express that in your content and in your engagement.
Okay, great. Lily, with that, when you are just, mentioning about using AI and things like that, definitely we know that AI is a great companion, is a great, creative assistant for us also in terms of putting our thoughts into a good framework, or maybe, putting our ideas or our personal tone into a great way that can actually help to convey people. But in that, there are always a lot of chances that I've seen that you might get negative feedbacks, or you might get criticisms on LinkedIn when your content might look little AI copied or more AI toned. So, what advice would you give for such similar situations? How to tackle such sensitive issues of managing negative feedbacks or managing AI with that sense of not losing your own tone?
Not necessarily about kind of navigating the feedback, but one thing that I always say is write messy, edit clean. So when you've got a content idea, just write it in your notes app. It doesn't have to be word for word what you're going to post later. But if you've got the base there, the template there, and then you can use AI to neaten it up. There are a lot of words and things like that that are very AI. So it's just learning what words to remove and how to personalize it. Like we said, AI is a companion, it's just using it correctly. So using your thoughts and your ideas alongside AI's help.
Definitely. I think that's a great learning from this. Diana, were you saying something?
No, 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 I wasn't saying something, but yeah, I think I would definitely add to Lily as well. I think the way I use AI is that, for example, when I'm doing a post, I will completely like finish it myself. And then because I type very fast, I may, miss a comma or any grammar issue. So I just run it through AI just to make sure that, in terms of grammatic and spelling, it's okay. But I guess, you have to be very, very careful because AI will start generating things that you can tell that is from AI. So I guess you should never rely too heavy on AI, and always cross check your content before you post it and just make sure that it sounds like you.
Great. I think we all need to follow that rule. Hey, I just triple checked this time, I promise rule. Right. So we're going forward. I would also want to, we are going towards the end of this webinar and this session. It's really great, but it's always good to kind of talk about biggest mistakes that we have done during our initial stages. So quickly, I would want each of you to maybe cover one mistake each if you have made any, that you remember still today, and maybe talk out with your friends. So probably the marketers here out there would also want to know about the mistakes that you made, how you learned from that and how you corrected them.
Um, I think maybe when I first started off, I was completely wrapped up in just getting content out, that maybe I neglected my community a little bit, in terms of sort of replying to comments, replying to DMs. I think networking IRL last year really helped me actually connect on a personal level, which then made me wrap this up a little bit better when it comes to my LinkedIn. So now I have a bit of a rule, which sometimes slips through the net sometimes. But what I try to do is if I post, I will get back to every single comment before my next post. Again, I say this slips through the net sometimes when crazy things come up or updates that I want to report on immediately, but having that conscious thought in the back of my mind to get back to everyone before I let it roll down and I've neglected my community, because at the end of the day, if your community won't reward you if you don't reward them, they don't want to be talking to a brick wall. So yeah, funnel time and energy into your community and don't let that be neglected. Do that from the get-go, and I'm sure you will see rewards quicker than what I did.
Lily, Diana, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so my biggest regret slash challenge was not starting sooner. Your personal brand is one of your greatest assets, and the best time to start building it was yesterday. The second best time's today. So my advice would be to just start and stop putting it off.
Okay, that's great. Diana, I would also want to know some mistake if you have made.
Yeah, of course, definitely. And I think for me is when you start, I think start small, because one of the mistakes I did was when I started 2 years ago, I saw that, lots of creators would post 7 days a week. And I decided, okay, I'm going to post 7 days a week as well. And that failed massively. I ended up stopping like 3 weeks afterwards. And I think it's just remembering to, life lives and never put yourself such really big goals. Start small, and if it's like I think Lily and Alana have said previously within the webinar, if it's one post a week, if it's two posts a week, just show up in whatever way that is to you, and then you can definitely build that back up. Right now, obviously, I post 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, but that's because I've got the time to do so. And then later on down the line, where I've got a lot more commitments or anything that's going on, that might reduce. And that doesn't matter as long as you show up in the way that's authentic to you and that's possible to you so that you don't fall off. That's the most important thing.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing. So while we are just ending this webinar, we have just extended for 5 more minutes. There are quick questions that I see and which are really good. So somebody in the chat box has asked us that what are the marketing podcasts that you guys hear or would you suggest?
Yeah, I guess I'll go into that because I guess I was the one that mentioned podcasts. So, I listen to Girls in Marketing. I listen to social media marketing, as well. There's a few more that I'm happy to put in the chat anyway. So those are just the two that I can think from my head. But I guess outside of marketing, which sometimes they do touch upon, is Working Hard, Hardly Working with Grace Beverly. She's amazing, and of course, she's in business and marketing. And I can't stress that enough. And I guess also the psychology of your 20s. Again, Jem, I think, is the host. She's amazing. She touches on loads of topics. And like I said, sometimes your inspiration comes from things that are not directly, to what you're looking for. So yeah, I'll just pop them in the chat anyways now.
Great.
I've just got a couple more. So marketing meetup. They also have really good marketing podcasts where they interview some big names in the industry. And also In Her Shoes. It's a podcast where girl boss female CEOs are interviewed from all different industries, sort of their career paths and how they got to where they are today. So I think they're very inspirational. No matter what industry you are, there should be someone there that sort of blends into what you're doing.
Lily, do you have any podcast that you would like to share, or maybe books or any other inspiration channels?
Yeah, so I don't have any podcasts to add to what's already been said, but two books slash audiobooks, whatever you prefer. I would recommend to start with Why by Simon Sinek and How to Build a Story Brand. I can't remember the author of that one, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's amazing. I think the first one is one of my favorites as well. And I would also want to add one more. So that's not a podcast, but definitely, guys, you can keep joining Social Pilot webinars for more such information and learn. I think Social Pilot webinars can also help you kind of build your audience on multiple social media platforms or marketing channels. I'll take just two last questions before we end this call. Um, Deborah is asking, is it important to be verified on social media profiles?
I'm not verified on any social media platforms, so I don't know if that's contrary to what these girls are going to say, but I don't think it is.
I agree from my end.
Yeah. I think verification is also losing a bit of its value now, just because, for example, on X you can now buy to get verified, and I think that may be the case as well on Instagram for business accounts. So I think, yeah, I think it is losing its value a little bit. So is it really important now? I guess is a bit of a discussion there.
Great. Quick question to you, Alana. How can collaboration or does collaboration enhances one's personal brand visibility?
Oh, absolutely. I think depends on the brand that you're collabing with. They are going to have an untapped audience that might not know about you. So them bringing awareness of you gives you eyes of new people, but also you bringing awareness to them makes the eyes of your audience see them. So I think it is a collaborative way on how you can both expand brand visibility. So yeah, I think that answers the question in a nutshell. But yeah, no, definitely collaboration. You've got more eyes on you. You have a larger reach.
Great. There's one quite interesting question that has come across is from Lori, who says that when you offer multiple services which have much different audiences, would you suggest choosing one and focusing on that? Or is there any effective way to do the both? Let's say, for example, you talk about digital marketing and also real estate investing.
I think there's a way to target both. The company that I work for, we're tech, media, and talent. So we kind of have a similar kind of problem, I suppose, in three different audiences. But our content relates to all three audiences, and it's just making yourself known across the board.
Great. I think that really defines how a person can actually use this. By ending this question, I would ending this webinar, I'm sorry. I would finally end this webinar by my one last question that if you get a chance to maybe change one thing on LinkedIn that would help you in your personal branding, what would it be?
I would I would love to pin comments on a post. That
Me
would be
too. Me
my
too.
favorite thing.
I agree for both personal profiles and for company pages.
Absolutely, because there is a stigma at the moment that if you add a link in your original caption, it diminishes the reach of the post. So I tend to then add the link in the comments, but then it gets lost in the comments. So if I could just pin that, it would be a lifesaver.
Definitely, I agree. Diana, Lily, any superpowers that you would want from LinkedIn or would want to, vanish out from LinkedIn?
I'd love a better analytics dashboard. I think knowing a little bit more about what's working, what isn't working, like times that my audience are active and that kind of thing would be really, really helpful.
I think you can use some social media platform tools like SocialPilot. I think we can definitely help you with that. Yeah. Diana, anything from your end?
Um, Do you know what? I'll be honest. I agree with these two. I think, yeah, definitely the pin comments because the other day I think I created a post about this webinar and people were asking me where is the link and I had already posted it. So I had to obviously comment individually. So it would be great to do that. And definitely on the analytics as well. It will be great to know a little bit more about, what your content is doing. I guess on video, they have shown it a little bit, but I think the platform still has a little bit to go. But I think overall, I love what LinkedIn is offering. I think LinkedIn is such a unique space. And I just hope that it doesn't change too much because if not, all of the social media platforms will start, doing the same thing. And I don't want that. And I think, that's why we're here. That's why we're here today. I think LinkedIn it's its own thing. And I just hope that it maintains that throughout this field.
Definitely, I agree. So that was it, and it was a great session with all of you three. It was great. I think the insights that we had, the response in the chat box, the marketers, I think everybody really, learned a lot. I personally learned a lot. It was great having a conversation with Alana, Lily, and Diana, all of you three. Marketers, please do not leave this call because I see that there are a lot of questions. So before leaving this call, do join our Slack community. Aditi from Team Social Pilot will help you with the Slack community. I'll also make sure that our experts join the Slack community to help you answer your questions. Or else you can also DM us or DM them in their LinkedIn channels. Aditi will help you from that. We have the links of all our social media platforms out here, especially of LinkedIn. Do follow us and let us know. We would be great and happy to, get your thoughts about this webinar in the feedback form after this call. And also do share your insights on LinkedIn, tagging all of the three and also Social Pilot in your post. We would love to see what you have learned from this webinar. Thank you so much, my dear panel. It was great, great, great having you today. Thank you. It was really a fantastic job done by the team. Have a great day, guys, and we'll see you in the next webinar. Thank you for joining.